This is my second video on the topic of 10 questions atheists can't answer well. I will start back at question 6, where I started, or where I left off last time. How does an atheist determine what is moral or immoral, right or wrong? Is there an objective standard or principles? Yeah, it's called how you were raised. I mean, if you were raised in a society where murder was completely fine, then you probably have no problem killing people. There's a tribe, Native American tribe, my mom was actually telling me about it this morning, she read it in the paper at some point in her life, that there's a Native American tribe in Wyoming. I don't remember which tribe it is, she told me, but they don't think twice about killing people because that's just how they were raised and that's how their society's always been. And my mom's friend and boss did some type of medical work there, and she said it was just gruesome. So, I mean, it all depends on where you were born. I mean, some anarchist societies, like, say, a cult society, or like that guy, I don't remember his name, who poisoned all his congregation in like Africa or something, I don't remember, like don't drink the Kool-Aid, whatever. Him, that's anarchy, but it worked for them because they want to follow a crazy prophet, and they didn't necessarily have a good set of morals because that guy poisoned them all, and a lot of cults poison each other, like poison themselves because they think they want to get to heaven earlier. But in the eyes of the Bible, suicide is wrong, so because you're effectively murdering yourself, reneging your entrance into heaven because you're a bad person, making you immoral because you decided to end your life. And moral, I mean, that's just like, how does an atheist determine what's right or wrong? How does anyone determine what's right or wrong? But I mean, in order to determine what's right or wrong, there needs to be a decision by rational people determining what's right or wrong. That's like saying, if you want a majority rule, you need to make the decision amongst the majority, then the majority rule is even going to be the way you solve your problem. Like, the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence stated that a majority election and the Electoral College would decide who became president, or we would use a democratic election to figure out elected positions. And just use democracy to figure things out, and we're not a democracy, we're called a polyarchy, where a select group of wealthy people hold the value in our country, but that is a totally different thing. Worldview questions. What type of government does the atheistic philosophy translate into? That's hard, because any government can go from any religious standpoint. I mean, fascism is generally atheistic. Like, Hitler was an atheist, but he didn't hate Jews because they were people with faith. He just hated Jews because he thought they were greedy and poisoning the Aryan race, so he killed them. Which, Hitler thought it was good on paper, but after killing 6 million people, he realized that the world wasn't going to allow that, and he spent months in a bunker. His wife killed herself, and then he effectively killed himself afterwards. So, did he really win? Not really. And there's a girl on YouTube. It's called she makes a video called 4 Questions for an Atheist. Her name is Fact versus Religion, and she said something I completely agree with. She said, people often say that Hitler won, or like, not Hitler won, but like, how do people get away with this in God's eyes? Like, get away with doing horrible things like rapists and murderers. And like, she used the example of Saddam Hussein and Hitler, but she made the very valid point saying that they didn't get away with it. Saddam Hussein was hung by his people because he killed so many of them and they just hated him and wanted him to die after years of hiding in a cave. And just like she said, if you want to watch the video, you can. But like she said in the video, he had food tasters and he was just paranoid for most of his life after he committed those horrible acts. So he didn't really get away with it. He was just living in constant fear. Much like when you commit a crime, you're really paranoid that the cops are going to get you, which is completely valid because you will get caught at some point. That's just how our justice system works. And so, how do you determine morals? Like, well, I probably should have done these questions individually in videos because I could go on for days. Second part of that question is, how does it understand the relationship between man and government? What type of government structures flow from an atheistic worldview? Does it merely rely on someone else's system of thought? No, it relies on many people's system of thought. Like, our government relied on Thomas Jefferson and the view of the people because at that point they weren't just people, they were people with a goal, and the general people were just supportive of their goal, but they appointed themselves as representatives of them. So in life, you have to appoint people as representatives to effectively represent you. Like your parents, for example, if you get a ticket, your parents represent you in a court of law, not like in your lawyer's place, but they represent you in the sense that they have legal responsibility for you. And if you want a field trip with your school, you represent the public image of your school. So if you act stupid, you make your school look stupid. And I mean, you just have to represent what you want and hope that everyone else wants the same thing and is willing to make it work. Because humans are not people who like to deal with each other effectively and sit down and talk about it. I mean, it's good on paper, but it's not good in reality. I mean, hundreds of thousands of years of wars, like the Crusades, for example. I mean, okay. Second, next question. How does atheism view religions and religious faiths? What about metaphysics? Is atheism purely materialistic and naturalistic? No, metaphysics. No, metaphysics is something you can't. That's a good argument from a Christian standpoint. I will agree with that. Christians say, well, you can feel love, which is, in the words of literature, like great novelists and just literature in general and good creative writing and language arts and English. Any English class will tell you that that's an abstract noun, like because it's something that you're feeling, like hunger or the desire to punch something, or anger, or hatred, or love, and a lot. Oh, this is a really good argument that I hear all the time. If you don't see the wind and you don't know where it comes from, you still believe it exists. It's a good argument, but it has a fatal flaw. You can feel the wind, and it's not just your testimony that you can feel the wind in your life. It's everyone. You see the wind, you know with solid conviction the wind is making tornadoes and flipping trailers and whisking Dorothy off to Oz. I mean, just that has solid conviction. You know for a fact that it's the wind because it's the only possible explanation. But Christians don't see that God isn't the only possible explanation. I mean, what if it's aliens? I mean, Ancient Aliens, that show is obviously still on the air for a reason. I mean, I don't know if it got canceled. I only watched it like a couple times. But that's a completely logical answer. Because if a higher species created us, we would definitely view them as a god. Because someone bigger than us and more intelligent and better in every way. Like, parents have a god complex, for example, because children view them as gods. They are their gods. They have money, they have everything that they don't have. But that doesn't mean that we can't grow into our own gods eventually and just eliminate the need for gods. So, question 9. Oh, I didn't fully answer that question. How does atheism view religion and religious faith? Well, seeing as how most atheists are rational, some aren't. I'll give them that. They're not rational sometimes, and they're just radical, and radical people of any religion just annoy everyone. Um, is atheism purely materialistic and naturalistic? Well, naturalism isn't exactly a bad thing or negative. I don't even need to go into how that's not negative because it's just pointless. Materialistic? No, actually. Christianity is materialistic because there's no atheism Bible. Well, not we, I can't say I'm an atheist, but atheists will cling to their very firm beliefs. I will agree with Christians that atheism requires just as much faith as being in any other religion, especially radical Christianity, because there are a lot of radical atheists, and I've seen a lot of people like Gravity Max say he will be the first person to call out an atheist who's just self-proclaimed and has absolutely no solitude in their defense against it. I mean, I honestly don't see why people need to defend their religion, but that's just the world we live in. And atheism views religions and other like religious faiths as exactly what they are, religious faiths. I mean, we don't view them. I keep saying we, just accept that. Aren't viewed from a you're crazy and you should be diagnosed as a schizophrenic. That's not how it's viewed. Well, that's how a lot of rude atheists see it. But true atheists, coming from the opposite standpoint of a religious person will say, it's your religion, do what you want, just don't harm other people while you're doing it, because then the law will have to step in. And number 9, who are the authoritative writers of books of atheism? Richard Dawkins is a big one. Stephen Hawking is an agnostic. I'm just gonna chalk it up to a lot of people in science are either atheists or agnostics. I'm gonna have to say a lot of them in science, the rational ones, are agnostic, because science is like saying you don't know, and agnosticism is like saying you don't know and you're open to knowing. But that doesn't mean your viewpoints are gonna change once you know. It just means you're still gonna be solid in your viewpoint. What are the central tenets of atheism, and if they have a greatest commandment, what is it? Greatest commandment is let other people live their lives. That's what the greatest commandment for everyone should be. I mean, golden rule in our society, parents tell the children all the time, treat other people how you want to be treated, and that's really true. I mean, it works in theory, never works in real life, because if I walk up to my girlfriend and say I love you, she could just be like, well, I don't love you, and I'm going to break up with you, and I want all my stuff back. I mean, it just works in theory, it just doesn't actually work in real life. For example, arguably, Christianity is love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. Okay, love your neighbor as yourself, pretty much treat other people the way you want to be treated. Love God with all of your mind and heart. I urge Christians that if they're going to be Christians, to be the best Christian they can be. That is the same, that goes true for anything. If you are not enthusiastic about something, say if you're not enthusiastic about your job, if you hate your job, you're not going to produce anything with that work ethic. I mean, if I hated working at McDonald's, which trust me I would, I wouldn't be better serving my customers. But if I really liked architecture, which I don't like architecture, I kind of do, but psychology is good for me. I really want to be a psychologist, so, or like a theological counselor, whatever, something involving psychology and possibly religion. If I'm in that field, I will serve people's needs all day and help them get places, positive places. And just do it with your, as this says, your heart, your mind, your soul, and all your strength. So be the best person you can be. Be the best. If you're a trash man, be the best trash man you can be, because they make more money than teachers. I mean, if you're a valet, be the best valet you can be. If you're, like I said, working at McDonald's, be the best burger flipper you can be. I was at Publix the other day, getting a sub, and the guy was like, this is going to be the best sub you've ever had in your life because I'm making it. And it was, because he loved his job, and he loved the people that came into his job. And that's the type of person that every professional needs to be. What happens after we die? We die. There's no way I can know that until I die. When I die, and then magically come back to life, I'll write one of those 20 minutes in heaven or 30 minutes in heaven, which I actually read. It was a pretty decent book. I didn't read that one about hell because it seemed kind of stupid. But I read the one about heaven, 90 minutes in heaven, I think that's what it was called. I read it when I was really young. I've been a budding theologian for a very long time. My dad's agnostic, my mom's a radical Christian, so I grew up in a very confusing household because they were divorced, and it just, I had to choose a side, and I chose agnosticism because it seemed more rational, not because my dad's agnostic. My dad's standpoint is if you want to love a tree, you can love a tree. My mom's standpoint is you need to love God or I won't respect you. I mean, yeah, so I will make further videos analyzing topics like this, and please, if I offended you, please don't be afraid to make a video response or whatever, just communicate that I offended you somehow, and if I truly meant to, I will tell you, but I did not truly mean to offend anyone in this. I'm just trying to be open-minded and act as a middleman for these two crazily conflicting religions, and atheism is a religion. Agnosticism is kind of a religion, but not really. I guess you could say it is. It's just a religious viewpoint, but it's not really a religion. It's a viewpoint on religion, but it's not a religion. So I'm only good to make 15-minute videos on my account, so I'm going to stop this now. But thank you for watching. I will make more, probably today, because I don't have anything else to do. So please subscribe and rate and comment and all these other things. Goodbye.